And welcome to this recording of ARVR Live Video, a brand new series to help you find new ways to use moving images and sound to truly engage your audience. I am your host, Pascal Finton, and today my guest is Jonny Ross, the founder of Flick Marketing and an amazing online marketer, as you'll see in a moment. Jonny, welcome to ARVR Live.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
No, thank you very much. We've got so much to talk about, but just before we move on to your foray into the world of live streaming, let me remind people that you are the go-to expert when it comes to building brands online, particularly when you say deeply rooted in SEO. Is SEO still your first love?
Yeah, I think. Well, yes, it is. But I think people are my first love, actually, and SEO is just a skill on top of that. It's very kind of you to say what you've just said. I am not shy of being online, and I think there's, I've always just seen the power and what you can produce by being online. So yeah, I think I'm just still riding a wave.
Absolutely. So before we move on to your talking about live streaming and the lesson you've learned along the way, let me start with two important questions at this moment in time. Where are you and how are you doing?
So I'm currently at home and in my converted daughter's bedroom. I've got a very nice green screen behind me, which means I can adapt for all sorts of different clients or podcasts or videos. Doing fine. We have a daughter who's vulnerable. She had a heart condition, so we've got to protect her. So we're quite used to this now, though, not seeing people, not really interacting in the real face to face, and we're just getting on with it. But we're all fine. Thank you for asking. Yeah, it's okay.
It's important that at this moment in time. Can I just ask, how old is your daughter?
Oh, she's 3. I've got 5 children from the age of 3 to 16, so quite a wide range. Yes, and across 4 different schools. I think every other day we're getting a message. Year 7's got COVID, year 8's got COVID. We're literally, I might have to quit my job just to read school emails, to be honest.
And I think, frankly, there should be an app for this because I feel for parents like you. My children are now, they're independent. They are an adult, although they still cost me money somehow, and they live away. So can I ask? I mean, does your daughter think it's super cool to have a daddy working from her bedroom using a green screen, or are you quite a bit of embarrassment?
I think I think they really love it, and I think they 2 of my young daughters think that they're YouTube stars already. To be perfectly honest, and the way they talk, they'll do a little video and they'll always end it with, click the subscribe button below, and make sure you follow me. They've been brainwashed by YouTube already, so I think they like it.
It's interesting because when we project, in terms of their future career and what they're going to be asked to do moving forward, at this moment in time, you and I are operating in the world of, brand, online reputation management, and building, obviously, a community using content. And for many of our customers, this is a new occupation or a new consideration. But I think for your children, it'll be something that it's as if, you walk into a place of work and someone asks you, do you know to use Microsoft Office? 10, 20 years ago was the question. And you could then bizarrely think, well, of course I do. Why wouldn't I? Someone's going to say, well, do you know about vlogging? And they're going to say, well, yeah, I've been doing it since I was 10 and I was doing better than my dad.
I think it's a really interesting point, isn't it? Because, you're right. We were looking for people that can use Excel and Word. Now it's, what you like on camera. And are you confident to go on camera? Are you confident to record some audio? It's an interesting point, and I've never really thought about it. But honestly, with the amount of YouTube that they watch, and we're very good parents, by the way. We know what the point there actually. When I say the amount of YouTube they watch, what I'm saying is compared to other channels, so YouTube has become the sort of the BBC, the
Sure.
CBeebies, and has really overtaken CBeebies like there's no tomorrow. So the amount that they then get of the whole how to be on camera, subscribe, follow, interacting with the audience, engaging, they must be picking up all sorts of stuff naturally. It's quite scary.
And of course, you and I have developed our skill set and mindset accordingly. But I still remember vividly coming from the corporate background where, when you talk about marketing and branding, was a logo, an identity, a mission statement. But the people behind the business were reasonably anonymous. And suddenly, in the space of 10 years and in some industries, in the space of 6 months, suddenly personal branding has just come to the fore. It's just still a very strange occupation.
Yeah, I guess some of the early ones would be things like Richard Branson, Virgin. That
Mm.
if you ever hear personality marketing talked about, he would always be mentioned. And I think in some way he broke some molds. And I'm sure if we go back in history, there are other examples, much bigger examples. But I think we all realize that people do buy from people. They don't buy. It's not B2B. It's not B2C. People buy from people. People buy from people they like, people they trust. The way to develop that likability or that trustability is by showing personality, and that's what works. And it's certainly, if you have a look at how Gen Z and how millennials engage, they want to buy from a brand that is like them, that they like, and personality is one of the best ways to achieve that.
So let's move on to live video and the work that you've done in this. So obviously, you are, as I mentioned a moment ago, the founder director of Fleek Marketing. You help clients through consultancy and training to develop digital campaigns. The live video stuff, is this something that came through work, or was it something that you were intrigued and did almost on your own time?
I think I've known that live video is a way to stand out. So if you have a look at how online, it started with blog content, written content, long form content, but then it was soon that there was so much content you then needed to step up, and that was done through images. You then needed to step up again, and that was done through video. Well, you then need to step up again, and you need to do live video. So I think it was just a sort of natural, how can I what's the best way to stand out? Now all of it does come back to, it's got to be good content. You could do live, but it could be terrible content that it's never going to engage. So I think I always had the sort of drive to, I've always got that drive, try new things, step out the box, be an early adopter, um, and just take LinkedIn as an example. If you only certain people can go live on LinkedIn, so I wanted to be one of those people, albeit I only recently, we're talking in the last 6 months, got access to that part of the platform. But live, I always knew that live would be a great way to engage. I think what really spurred me doing live on was COVID. There's no question about it. A lot happened in March from a business point, well, like everyone. But I did some big stuff in March that live video was a key part to all of it. Although if you went back, I think it was about 2 years ago, or in fact, it was when. So yeah, it was to do with my daughter. Actually, it was to raise money for her heart charity, and one of the best uses of live video was for fundraising. And we raised, I think it was about 3-4 grand within a week. And the idea, literally, I walked into the office on Monday morning and said, I've got an idea. I'd like to do this. Would you all like to get on board? And we literally, Monday morning, came up with a plan. Friday afternoon, did the fundraising. The whole thing was focused around a live video on the Friday. So everything was pointed towards, all the marketing, everything, all the strategy was get people to that live video on Friday. And there was a number of live videos that were done during the week to achieve that. And I wrote a blog post. It was one of the best marketing campaigns I've ever done. And it was literally on a scrap of paper on Sunday night, to in a team on Monday morning. And there was a blog post on how I did that. So actually that was one big step into live. But then COVID
Mm.
absolutely was the turning point for using live.
So As far as my research would tell me, and of course, when the algorithms play ball, and I can see, what you're doing. At the moment, you're the host of, the live Q&A with Jonny Ross, and we can discuss the journey. But also, and you're a man full of surprises, Monsieur Jonny Ross. You're also the facilitator and the host of the UK Israel Business Leads Virtual Breakfast Panel Q&A. So we'll talk about this one definitely, but. What did you when you went live during COVID and organized obviously the Facebook group? What was the thinking behind it? How much planning and did you put into that?
Well, yeah, just to get a point there, actually, because you've just made me realize something, that you know, pre-live video, just like yourself, I do a lot of speaking at a lot of conferences, a lot of venues. It's live, stood up talking, and that took me quite a bit of time to get into. But once I got into it, I realized that it was quite a forte and something that I really enjoyed. Actually, live video is the same. So I could happily go on a stage and not be concerned, not be worried, not be anxious about standing in front of a crowd. So I think once I'd got past that barrier, live video was just the same. In answer to your question was around how did it happen? Why did it
Yeah,
happen?
yeah. I mean, I was going to say, did you put as much planning as you did for the charity event, or not?
Yeah, well, yeah, less. Less planning was the answer to that question. So I think the conversation was probably less than 3 days for this one, and from conception to literally 3 days later, the whole thing was live. And I think we went. I think the group started. I think I was doing a live video, probably. I think the 18th of March, which was about 5 days before the UK government announced the
Mm.
lockdown, and it was probably only 2 days after I thought, God, I could help here, and the whole thing came to fruition, literally within 2 or 3 days. And I can't remember the numbers, but we had probably a couple of hundred members within maybe the first week or so. We're now hitting 800 members 6-7 months later, and the beauty of the membership is that it's all key decision makers, businesses in Yorkshire. So it's a really good. You don't necessarily need high numbers because you've got the quality in there as well, and it's very Yorkshire based as well. So I think 2 or 3 days, and I knew that live was the answer because it had to be engaging, and it had to be, look, I wanted to make myself available. And I think what live video does is it gives you that. It makes you available. It people can comment, people can ask questions, people can give you feedback right there and then. And that's how you then make it engaging, because something recorded that you then put out, there's no interaction. And I
No,
think that, and I think interaction was a key part of this.
for me, I mean, if I put my kind of consultant hat on, that's number one argument. The case for it. The second case is, interestingly, it's probably actually one of the easiest things you can do. That would be under the label of video marketing. When I used to teach video marketing, I used to actually put live as a last thing to do. So almost like, once you've done everything else, you're ready to graduate, and you're now worthy of going live. And I would say in the space of a year or so, I changed my mind and say, start with live, because essentially it's the one shot wonder. You've got no choice. There's no kind of editing that can get into place. Live tech scale of distribution. And often, you may correct me on that, we're going to talk about the tech is a little simpler as well.
Yeah, I think you've hit a nail on the head there as well. That I don't enjoy video editing. I don't, I I don't I don't enjoy I don't enjoy work, to be perfectly honest. I enjoy doing things I like to do, And editing, audio and video isn't really something I enjoy doing. So the
It's
simple
just been very
answer
obvious
is,
to me from the many conversations we've had in the past. So, for our viewers and listeners' benefits, I've been horrified many times by Johnny's utter contempt at the world of editing. But you're a guy about taking action, so that's absolutely fine.
I know I am, and for me, let's do it live. I don't have to edit it. It means that I've just got to be amazing or got to be good or whatever. I've got to be at that level. And so if anything, it gives you more skills. It makes you think quicker. And so for me, live actually takes me up a level personally, but also means that whatever I'm delivering, I know it's got to be good.
I never thought of that one, but yeah, let's add that onto the business case. Improving yourselves professionally, presentation skills, thinking on your feet, being a good host as well, which I know you've done, and but also distribution. I mean, honestly, the numbers don't lie compared to what you could achieve by posting this on YouTube or going live within a social network. It's night and day, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, hugely. LinkedIn aren't interested in you sharing a YouTube video. They want to show their own, keep you on their content on their own network, and likewise with Facebook and TikTok. Just look at TikTok. So absolutely, there's a huge case for live.
Mm. Can you remind us your setup when you first started, and perhaps by contrast the way you're doing it now? So when you first started, the first few sessions, what was it like for you?
Well, if I go back a long way, to when I think about the charity, I was using an iPhone, and it was just handheld in front of me. I had some earphones, plugged in earphones, um, and I was just out and about in the streets, to be perfectly honest. If we have a look at what I was doing in March, the microphone. I mean, I've done podcasting, or sorry, been guests on podcasts. I've done lots of webinars. I've done lots of training online, and for a number of years. So actually, I already had invested in lights. I'd already invested in microphone. What I'd never invested in was green screen. And so if you looked at what I was doing in March, I just had the background of where I was, which in some way I think is also good because it brings that reality to it.
Mm.
But what I realized quite soon is it's also quite limiting from a client point of view, from a if I'm producing some kind of professional video, and especially absolutely from a client point of view. Actually, I can't just have my a bedroom in the back, and so I think one of the big differences was green screen, and also the software that I'm using. So if you looked at what I was using on day one, I think I was just live streaming direct on Facebook,
Hmm.
whereas now I'll do it through something like StreamYard, which allows you to distribute it to a number of different places at the same time, which, why wouldn't you do that? And so that's just some of the changes that have been made since.
So can we talk about then the sessions themselves? Um, do you plan them well in advance? How do you get the guest on board? Can you talk us through all that?
I've gone through different phases on planning, and whenever I interview someone, or I have a guest, I always want to make sure I've done really good research so that I can bring out the best in them. And so, if anything, I can surprise them at the things I know about them. Um, at the same time, I've realised that it's not something that it's. I'm about to say it's not something I enjoy doing. I don't mean I don't enjoy getting to know them. I don't enjoy spending the time reading, and spending the time digging around. So I've sort of changed, gone a few different directions in this. So if you looked at how I first started, and if you take it right back to when I was running panels on a stage, so forget live video for a moment. When I was running panels on a stage, I'd probably start researching people, at least 2 or 3 weeks before. I'd probably have some conversations prior, just on the phone, start reading some stuff, and then on the day, I'd be really, really ready. In March live video, I was probably researching, maybe 3 or 4 days before, spending some time, and getting to know people before the session. Now, I'm probably just doing some really quick, dirty research, and actually just putting 20 minutes, 30 minutes prior to the actual going live, of having that 20-30 minutes with the guest, just to get them to get to know a bit more. I'm very good at asking direct questions. I'm very good at having a sort of a very quick speed set of questions, where I'll literally go through some things where I'll get the things I want out, and leave the talk to when we go live, if you see what I mean. So there's so many different ways of doing this, and I do like processes. I've got colleagues that do this, and I can see the processes they go through. They, if you're going to be a guest on their show, there's a whole PDF that comes out with lots of this is going to happen, this is how it's going to work, here's the questions, here's can you answer this and this for me. I really like that, but at the same time, there's a bit too much sometimes put on the guest as well. They've got to start putting answering, writing, and I don't enjoy typing. And then at the same time, whilst I like the process side of things, I also like just doing it. So I hope that I'm good enough to be able to just do it. And if you take the UK Israel as an example, I'd still do that research, but I can do it very quickly. So I might be able to even do it in sort of 15-20 minutes per person, and I might even do it, on the morning of going live. So to give you some idea, we'd go live at maybe 8:30 in the morning. At 6:30 of that day is when I might do the research.
What I found, I've got a similar, a journey where I find that I think my research techniques have improved vastly, and I also know where the hooks and the nuggets are very, very quickly. So I think, of course, we should, get some return on effort, which is that we can compress the time and doing it that way. And I think for me, listening to you, I judge now the guests. So there'll be some guests who would love to receive the question in advance. And because that's how they function, and I get some hints that, and then others, I literally tell them minutes before we go live, or these are the questions I'm going to ask you, and they're happy with that. And again, I think that's our role as producers to kind of take the lead from the guests.
Totally. I mean, just today you sent me the link. What, 2-3 minutes before we started chatting? I know certain guests that would have been emailing me a week ago saying, is there a link for next week, or and being panicked, and I just knew at 4 o'clock, if I haven't got it in my inbox, it's going to turn up.
Yeah, and but to your point, but I'll also email people today about something happening later on in the week, because I just sense that that's how they prefer, and that this is our job.
No, I'm agreeing with you. You know me well enough to know that I don't need a link 3 days before, or a day before, or an hour before.
So, well, since you brought it up, how did the UK Israel stuff come about then? That's so intriguing.
So I'm Jewish. I have a connection with with Israel. I'm reasonably known within the Leeds Jewish community, and I think I was already a sponsor of their offline events. COVID comes along, events can't happen. They can see that I'm doing online video, and they approached me and asked, would I be interested in chairing their discussions and their panel debates and their Q&As, and I was delighted to help. So I think they just saw an opportunity, saw that what I can do online, and wanted to try and pivot their events to online, and they needed someone that, well, to put it bluntly, is engaging. And I think you probably know as well as I do, one of the toughest gigs, I don't know if you agree with me, but I find one of the toughest gigs is a webinar for maybe 2 hour, let's say a 90-minute, 2-hour webinar, where you've got absolutely no feedback. You've got no names, you've got no faces, you've got no questions, and you're there literally delivering something for an hour to 2 hours, and you've got no feedback from the audience. You can't see the audience, and you've got to make that session fully engaging. In fact, one step further is a pre-recorded webinar, I guess. Now, having done those, and I know you do them as well, I don't know if you agree, but if you can do those and you can make those engaging, you can probably make anything engaging.
I would agree, and every single trainer speaker that I've engaged, through this series, I've said the same, which is, if they had to choose, they would much rather go live with an audience than go live with no audiences to speak of, or invid. I think that the top of the least desirable option would be the pre-recorded content. I've got some colleagues who have had to record the 2 hour session and then send the file to the conference organizers. I thought, wow, that must have been hard.
It is, and having done it, it's really tough, and you literally come off it, and you're exhausted. You're totally exhausted, so I feel that if I can do that, because the feedback I get is that it's engaging.
Mm.
If I can do that, then I can easily engage a live audience.
So, can we go into the details as far as you're happy to share some of your trade secrets? Can we go into the production side of your live sessions? I know that you use intros with music. You've got um, overlays. Forgive me. Next one. So, what are you using to help you create all that?
So I think it's is it WAV dot, you introduced it me actually. Is it WAV dot I can't remember the name of the website.
I think it's Video. It could
WAV
be.
dot video, that's
Mhm,
exactly the one. Yeah.
mhm,
So I use that to create the intro and outro videos. I use Canva a lot to create some of the imagery and overlays. StreamYard is the broadcast tool that I use.
mhm.
And I stream to LinkedIn Live, Facebook, YouTube. Um, and what other tools do I use in putting this together? I think those are the main tools. The one that changed my life, nothing to do with live video, but it's a major part is of the admin side is Calendly.
Mm,
So, that's changed my life massively, full stop. I was forever, because I am busy. My diary is rammed, and all I was forever doing was saying, well, yeah, I can see what days can you do, and can you do Tuesday? Can you do? No, I can't do that. And when you've got to arrange it with 3, 4 other people, it's taken it away from me. And here's a link. There's my diary. You decide. That's when I'm free, and if I'm not free, I'm not free. It's as simple as that. So Calendly was one of the biggest things, because you got to think of the admin side of things as well. But on the production side, apart from the physical stuff as well, so the lights, the microphone, uh, I think those are the key things. Have I missed anything?
I don't think so. No, I was going to ask actually, in and around the guests. How do you go about finding or approaching guests, or you're that popular that people come to you first?
Well, I have had people approach me, and what's really difficult is when you get someone approaching that you don't necessarily
Mm,
think is right for the show. So that can be difficult. I think I'm looking for people that I like, that people that I get on with, but also people that have got skills that I believe my audience would like to increase their knowledge and skills on. And what also excites me is speaking to people that it's not necessarily an expertise for me, because it's a way for me to learn as well.
mm,
And interesting people, fascinating people. I in a lot of the shows that I've been doing, I try and get to really talk about the person as well, and not just the products or services, or their skills or what they're good at. And I've had some really fantastic, quite deep conversations with some people, and to be perfectly honest, I've really enjoyed that.
yeah, absolutely, and I think that's one of the reason why you and I continue, because we get so much out of it, as well as giving to the audience. Talking of the audience, so I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the main hub was the Facebook group, which had a different name to the one it has now. Was it quite straightforward for you to come up with the thought of changing the name and changing, obviously, perhaps the drive behind the group?
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're talking about the Facebook group, so there's a couple of different things here, but if we focus on the Facebook group, then I think the big change of name there was it had the word COVID in the name of the group. And I think it goes without saying that I think it's fair to say that people are sick of hearing about COVID. It's reality. It's where we are. It's not going away. But at the same time, people don't want to be talking about it all the time. And very much what we wanted to do was focus on what the group's there to do, and the group's there to support, to give a voice, and to showcase businesses, to network, and so we wanted to focus on those aspects of it more than why it was formed. So I think it served a purpose, but it was
Mhm.
then right to change the name to the Yorkshire Business Club, to then get across actually what it's there to do now moving forwards. So it evolved naturally. The audience there is businesses in Yorkshire. It's quite broad. There's cake bakers in there to 20 million pound manufacturing businesses. It's vast, the audience in there. Now, if you were to ask me about my audience, there's probably 3 or 4 personas, and I, as a marketeer, I do try and think of those personas depending on the content that I'm doing, but with the group it's really varied, and that becomes a bit more difficult. But there's as a it's terrible to say this as a marketeer, but generalist isn't terrible, or there's space for generalist.
Mm. So, what is the current programming now? What is the scheduling? So, have you got specific days of the week and times of the days, or do you vary? Do you surprise people?
It's yeah, it's totally varied, and it very much comes down to my diary and the guest. I've not gone for a fixed, from with my podcast, so everything's being turned into audio as well, and with my podcast that will be released on a particular day at a particular time. But with the live videos, the live Q&As, the thing is that I think the element of surprise is actually quite good, especially with platforms like LinkedIn. Because what you tend to find is that people get an instant notification, and they either want to join there and then, or they don't. And so I've found that just varying it, just going with whenever's available,
Mm.
actually can work quite well at times. And I've not found the need to go. It's a good question you're asking, and I reckon if I was on the other side of the fence, I'd probably be talking myself into saying, no, you should do it it needs to be on a Wednesday at 8 o'clock, or whatever it is. Because if I go back to blogging, it should be about consistency. It should be about you getting your audience ready and waiting for the content. I've decided I do things differently now and again, and I've decided that's
Mm.
not the best way.
But I think, there's two types of content, as we well know. There's a scheduled and there's the spontaneous or the specials. And I think if you take the analogy of a film or TV or radio programmer, I think that there could be where, you decide, well, these would be the regular slots. And then every so often, just to reset, someone's goodwill or just, participation, I will surprise them. But I think also practically, you're right. Maybe, your guests need the flexibility. Talking of guests, you've been able to invite all sort of people from the locals to high profile personalities, and I did have a bit of a smile. So I must ask him one day, and I'm going to do it today. How did you manage to get Ed Milliband on the show? And did you have to go through any kind of security screening before he was allowed to come on your live session?
I wasn't sure if you're going to mention Timmy Mallet as well, but that's not as public, and that was for a client. That was a fun one,
Mm.
and I met Timmy when I was a kid as well. But Ed Milliband, you don't get unless you ask, and actually all we did was ask, and so it was a great positioning, because it was at the time of the Sybil's loans had just come out. The government wasn't giving a full guarantee on them. Ed, as the shadow business secretary, was campaigning for the government to fully back the loans. So I had an audience of Yorkshire businesses sort of wanting what he was campaigning for. So the two tied together very nicely. And it was literally an email to his press office saying, would he be interested in doing a live? And I think, a lot of it comes down to timing. A lot of it comes down to, if you don't ask, you don't get. And my message to people is, go out there, and if you want something, go and try and get it.
And the reason I was asking these questions, apart from teasing you, is also because now is a great time to be ambitious about your guests, because some of them are stuck at home, like all of us, or they suddenly are not spending as much time traveling. And if you have a strong case or a simple story, which is there's a group of us in Yorkshire who have questions and we could do some clarity, are you available? You're absolutely right. And I recognize that from video production, asking and the right time is also so for all the viewers and listeners. If you're thinking of going live and thinking of using the guest or panel discussion as a format, be ambitious and ask. You'd be. I'm not always surprised, but even after all these years.
Yeah, I agree. People are sat at home, and there is opportunity out there, and I totally be ambitious.
So before I let you go, I've got one question for you, then a bit of a fun quiz for you to take part in. You mentioned a moment ago that you're now busy repurposing the live sessions into a podcast. I have to say I'm very jealous because you called it the Jonny Ross audio experience, and which I think is a wonderful name. Why not? Keeping it simple and spelling it out. Do you have any other plans or ideas or things you want to explore when it comes to live streaming?
Um, so I mean, the big plan is probably more around the content. So I think for now, the content is very much quite like I was referring to earlier, quite generalist, quite mixed, quite varied in terms of all aspects of business. I think as things progress, I think it'll become more marketing again, and I think I'll be bringing more experts in that field. But for me, actually, a good business needs all those aspects. So I think the plan is to focus on the content side of things. With regard to the podcast, as time moves on, I would expect those to potentially be a bit more polished. I've been playing with some software behind the scenes on what you could do there, but for now, it's totally repurposed. I'm taking the live video Q&A, adding an intro and outro, or taking away the video intro and outro and adding an audio intro and outro instead. And it's a few clicks and you've suddenly got a podcast. So I'm a big believer, with regard to new social platforms. My advice is join them, get a following on there, do a bit of content, because if and when you decide that is a platform of choice, you've made some headway with it. So that's the way I see podcasting right now. I've put my mark out there. It's some branding. I'm building organically a following, and if and when I feel that it's right to really use that channel, it's then I've got the foundations already done.
Super. Final one. I'm cheating. One more question before the quiz. Is there anything you wish, the likes of Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube would do a bit better to support you as a live streamer?
Um, that's a good question. And this is, you're going to have to edit this because I haven't got an answer. It's a very good question.
Or you're happy for now with what you need and what your plans are?
I'm happy for now. I think they could I think they could definitely do better. I think they could. I think the good thing with LinkedIn is they at least notify people. And so they've got really good notification. I don't think Facebook's as good as that. I think so. I think more prominence, and I think why don't they reach out and say, look, how could we support you and how could we make this better? So I think they're more interested in reaching out to advertisers, but why not reach out to some of your content creators?
Yeah, and that. So I haven't received my invitation to join LinkedIn Live, but that's just something that I need to live with. I'm on my sixth application that I'm giving up
Wow.
now. I'll wait.
And if anything, you should have got it before me.
That's quite all right. So thank you so much for that. I know that our audience, I've really liked this conversation and learned a few things from you. Particularly, I would say key message: take action, don't overcomplicate matters, and build that audience and have aspiration in terms of what you can do with it. But let's finish with a few questions for you, Monsieur Jonny Ross. If you could have a music band or an artist playing a private concert for you on Facebook Live, which band or artist would you invite to play for you?
I'd probably go for it would be a tough call between probably Jamiroquai or REM.
Ooh, nice one. If you invite Jamiroquai, can you please let me know, and I'll find a way to
Yeah,
join
I
join on the
reckon
call.
that would be quite a cool, chilled out evening.
Yeah. So, well, because you have this online concert with your, with your favorite band, you can also order some food. What food would you order for you and your family and friends?
Oh, it would have to be curry. Yeah,
Right?
I do really like a good curry, and so that would be the top choice, I would have thought.
I'm discovering this is a very popular food in this part of the world. Um, if you could have your own radio show, what would you talk about, and who could be your co-host?
Well, I mean, I would have thought you would be the best co-host.
Thank you.
um, these are very good questions. What would I talk about? I would, I'd get the best out of people. That would be that's exactly what I do. I get the best out of other people, and I'd make it as engaging as possible. And it would have to be the breakfast show on Radio One, I would have thought.
Wow. There, I don't think I could do the early getting up early, so I've got to just rock up just as we're about to record, I'm afraid.
Do the drive time.
Yeah. So, final question for you. When all this is behind us and we can travel and move more freely, where would you like to take your family on holiday?
Uh, I think I think we'd like to just go back to some of the places that we love, and that would be probably somewhere like the south of Spain, or we'd really like to go over to the States. And in fact, actually, what I'd really like to do is go and take my whole family to visit my sister in Australia. There's so
Right.
many places that we'd like to go to. I know for you, France. When have you been? Have you been back yet? No.
It's been a year to the day.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So we were meant to be there in May, then in September. So we don't make any plans anymore, and we will surprise ourselves and our family if we can go.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So there's so many places, but those are just some of them.
Thank you so much, Johnny. Thank you so much for being part of the ARVR live video series. I have no doubt people have more questions for you or would like to support you in your endeavors as a live streamer. Where can they go on the interweb to know more about Jonny Ross?
Oh, there's so many places. Probably just go to LinkedIn/Jonny Ross, or if you go to fleek.marketing, you'll be able to get a link to the podcast and the Facebook group.
Thank you so much. And to you, our viewers and listeners, thank you for your support. I hope you're enjoying this new series, ARVR Live Video. And to the next one, go out there and make sure you engage your audience better and faster. Bye for now.